Okay, so welcome, Carlton. Welcome, everyone. So we're going to spend a little bit of time just telling you a bit more about our outreach provider part of our Here for Bradford District and Craven Communities programme. If you haven't seen it before, you are now looking at our logo for the new programme. It's got some bits that make sense to us in it. So the colours relate to our 4 partners. The blue belongs to Hale, the orange belongs to Participate, the green belongs to the VCS Alliance, and the yellow belongs to Community Action. And the hands are something we'll be using as we go through the programme to do bits and pieces with. Okay, so want to start off by telling you the sort of model that we've shared for the Commissioner, and what's really important on this is in the middle is the voluntary sector and the citizens of Bradford District and Craven. And the middle of our model talks about how we will engage with those citizens and draw insight from the voluntary sector and citizens to help us then run our modules. This module here, the sustainability and business development, is run by Network Central, but we've had an agreement with them that the insight that we will be producing, we will be sharing with them to help them run that lot. And then the stuff that we do, the activities we do, and the insight will then feed out to the wider parts of Bradford District and Craven. So our public sector, grant giving bodies such as Give Bradford, they're interested in our insight, any national organisations, and then we've just lumped together other stakeholders for anyone else that aren't in those other categories. So the 4 partners are Community Action Bradford and District. We're the lead on this piece of work. Hale are a partner, Participate are a partner, and the VCS Alliance are a delivery partner. We are stacked up this way. So this is our programme, and again, if you've seen this before, apologies, but it's just so people know who's delivering what. So for capacity building, that's a joint effort between Community Action, Participate and YCAS. YCAS aren't a partner, they're a subcontractor, and they'll just be concentrating on the finance stuff that they do. We've split the capacity building between ourselves and Participate, where Participate are leading on social enterprise developments, because that's the new bit that's in this contract. It wasn't written into the grant we had before, and we'll be leading on the charitable side of capacity building. Volunteering between ourselves and Participate again. Community Action will have voluntary sector lead on that, I suppose, so supporting voluntary sector organisations to increase their volunteering capacity, and Participate are leading on the corporate social responsibility part of volunteering. Information and insight, that's driven just by ourselves. I'll talk about that a bit more in the presentation, because I'm going to show you a little diagram to do with that. Voice and influence, that's ourselves with the VCS Alliance. The VCS Alliance have got a lot of the stuff around community partnerships that was built into this piece of work, so they'll be using those strengths in that. And then citizens engagement is led by Hale, with subcontractors Bradford Talking Media, CNET and Keighley Healthy Living. We had our big first team event on Tuesday, and actually there was lots of stuff about why citizens engagement in there, and we've started to see the strengths of having that within this programme, how these people doing outreach bump into people that want to start up groups and they don't know how to do it, and that comes across, or somebody wants to get into the voluntary sector and have their voice heard, so voice and influence. So we're starting to see how that will work really strongly together. Next one. Okay, so this is a bit of a complicated slide, but we've shown you this so that you can sort of understand where your part in this programme is. So this is how we will be running our teams. So it says here, her, there's a spelling mistake, sorry. It says hubs. We've renamed hubs and called them outreach providers for the simple reason that there's far too many hubs in the district. So we wanted to make some clarity around the role of people. So we've changed that. So the outreach providers will be working in this orange box. and referring people to us. Again, I'll give you a bit more detail in a minute. But what we wanted to do was show you that from a referral, somebody gets triaged. If they're new, they may go up to social venture school or something different. If they're an existing organisation, they will come through and do a diagnostic. So for those of you that know about the Transformation Fund and the diagnostic for that, we will be taking groups through that diagnostic as a matter of fact now, not just because they want Transformation Fund. And then if we can't support them through our programme, those assessments will go forward to the Transformation Fund. So groups are getting the one diagnostic once, not having a bit of a diagnostic and then having another one later. So we're cutting down some of the work for groups. The groups then go into a development phase. It could be any of these arrows. So that's the sort of things we've just been talking about. We do some development, we measure the impact, and then they might come back to that diagnostic tool, not to do it again, but if there's another red on there, so say a red was around volunteering and they've gone out and they've done volunteer development, they would come back and then they might think, I've got a capacity building issue now. So then they would go back out to other kind of other bits of support. Through this bit of the program, they're going to have what we're calling in private sector terms an account manager. So whoever does that diagnostic with them, even though they might fly them off to one of the network officers or the volunteering team, that original person will check in with them at regular points to make sure they're getting what they need. So they're not just going to send them off into the ether and think, I wonder what happened to that. They'll be catching up on that. Okay, so this is the information and insight. So the bit that our outreach providers will have access to is as will everybody, will be our website. But the difference will be is that we will give you training on what all these bits mean and why they're important, because I've cut the top of the arrow off because behind that is a database. So if we talk about insight, for example, that insight's going to be sucked back to our database, and then that insight will help us form reports, stuff that we can give back to groups to say, you know, if you're writing a funding bid, here's something you might be interested in, here's some data for you. But also it'll go off to connect to support or grassroots, which is the CCG thing. So that goes back there. We're keeping, because we know this will talk to the database, we're just letting the outreach providers know more about how this interacts with that, rather than having too many people in a database and accidentally deleting records. So that's around a data sharing thing. Yeah, so that'll be that. As you can see on there, there's the diagnostic. A diagnostic tool on there that we're going to have on there. It's not the same as the other diagnostic. The words are a bit messed. It's so that if a group lands there, they can quickly go through a couple of questions and go to the right place on the website. Because as we know, sometimes you look at a website, you don't know where to start. So there's going to be a little tool to help people find that. And one of the things we'd like our outreach providers to do is, if you know someone's pretty IT savvy, actually part of all you need to do is sit them in front of the website and go, right, if you go through those couple of steps, it'll take you somewhere, you should find what you want. If they can't then find it, it's about helping them navigate that. And what we also want back from our outreach providers is knowing that that works, because we're trying to plan it from our point of view and thinking about the user, but always these things take a while to settle in and we can tweak it. So that'll be something that we'll expect a bit of feedback on from people. So what is the outreach provider activity? I need to open another screen, just bear with me. So just bear with me a second. So under volunteering, so these are the 5 elements of our programme and the sort of things we would like. And again, we're going to list some stuff, but it's not necessarily everything, and you might not do some of it, because the point of having outreach providers in communities is that it can get tailored to community needs. So around volunteering, our volunteering offer is going to be quite different. We're not going to do a central brokerage mechanism. This is about doing our volunteering in communities so that local people can volunteer locally, rather than coming into something and finding out the volunteering they really like is all the way over in Ilkley. So It might be that we help you set up a notice board in your organisation with volunteering opportunities on it. You do some local promotion around what's going on, but also around volunteering. If you hear of an organisation that has a need around their volunteering, be that capacity building, be that marketing, be that we've got these vacancies, we don't know what to do with them, that's some of the needs that you feed back to us so we can address them. What's quite new in our volunteering is we're going to be using a lot of Facebook as our brokerage system, because using Facebook ads we can target people. So we'll start to do that for groups, and eventually over the 3-year programme capacity build organisations to be able to do that directly for themselves. And I know some people go, oh, I already do that, but there's a lot of organisations that don't. When we did our first briefing session, we had people that didn't even know how to set up a Twitter account. So our capacity team, building team, actually has a marketing person in it that will go out and help groups do that. So around capacity building, that's about referring people into our team. We're especially interested in the groups that we don't usually reach. That's the point of having these outreach providers in each of our 5 area office patches. We'd like you to help them access that online support or referring them in, making sure they know where the training is. In each of the 5 areas, we'd like at least one of our outreach providers to have some training facility, a room, and we would like you to then we'd then like to use your space to host, promote and run our social venture schools and other training sessions. Also around capacity building, if there's resources that aren't on the website that you think should be on the website, then you need to let us know so that we can upload those. Some ideas of what we're going to do. Well, what we've said we're going to do is the council wanted us to have a full raft of policies on our website. They exist in other parts of the internet world. So we're just going to have some basic ones on there that will enable you to get grants either from the other lot 5, or the building sustainability lot, or from the Alliance, so that actually for those bits of money you can quickly get your hands on your policies. But for all the other stuff, we'll be signposting people to NCVO, but then also running online sessions to help people navigate the NCVO website, because we also know that's really complicated and you look at it and you give up. We also want you to tell us about access needs we might not be aware of. So if you've got an area with lots of people with different languages and actually our website's no use to them because they don't understand us, please tell us and we'll look at translating some of those materials. Under voice and influence, our outreach providers will become one of our networks. So you'll be able to talk to each other, share experience. Hopefully that will help you collaborate. You may be able to deliver stuff together. But we'll also, that network will also have the opportunity to be part of the group. We're calling it group. So then the system, so the partners want to have one VCS board, if you like, to talk to. So at the moment, there's the Assembly Steering Group. That's currently just made up of chairs of forums, and we understand that there's very local community voice lacking in that. So as an outreach provider, you'll be able to be part of that group that feeds directly to the system. And hopefully, you know, if the hospital wants to know something about Bradford South, we would put them directly in contact with our 2 outreach providers in that area, so there can be some direct dialogue, so local knowledge going straight into the system, rather than people that have been elected to chair things that aren't necessarily from that part of the district. They may know stuff, but they may be in a different part of the district. So we're trying to really get community voices as close to decision-making boards as we can, and that's part of what this network will do. The other thing we also have to do is host regular area office events, best way to describe them, in each of the 5 places. So again, if you've got a training space, we would be wanting to host those meetings there, and those meetings will consist of the capacity building team, that marketing person, someone from the networks turning up and giving people all the information at once, rather than them having to attend more than one meeting. Around information and insight, we've already got our Twitter feed going, so we would be asking you to push out that messaging, encouraging people to sign up to newsletters, and as we've said, giving us insight back via the website. So that's either your own organisational insight or local organisations telling you stuff and feeding that to us. And for citizens engagement, it's about providing a route for that citizens engagement team to reach even further. So it's opening doors. So an example is the citizens engagement team might be doing some work around older people. You may have an older people's group. They may have never met them before. We'd like you to invite them to talk to those people. Okay. Is that pretty clear so far? I'm getting a nod. Brilliant. Right, I'll go on. So in return, obviously we're asking a lot, but we're hoping that what we give back is of equal value to your organisation. You will be linked to a named development officer who's connected to your area office. So across the team, so across capacity building, volunteering, there will be staff that are working closely with area offices. Area offices have got new engagement teams in there, and that's who we'll be linking up with. So you'll have that kind of access as well. So if you can't get there directly, talk to the development officer, open a door for you. The initial training on that website, ongoing updates as things may change during the year and during the programme. As I've described, being part of that outreach provider network, we're going to give you one free training course per quarter. So that's 4 over the year. That's worth at least 160 quid. So the short ones are normally, and these are the paid for ones. So there'll be some of the training that we offer for free. We're not going to count that in your offer, but where there are paid for places, you know, it might be a full day's training that's worth £100. So the minimum that's worth is £160. But again, we'll do that. And hopefully if you're giving us insight, we're going to start delivering training that actually meets what you think that's missing as well. We will come into your organisation and give you what we call a bespoke development activity. So some people might want us to host their away day. They might want a team building event. They might want a policy review. So that's a bigger piece of work, and we'll do that for you in the year. We'll help you build your own networks and your own partnerships as part of your ongoing sustainability. So again, if we can open a door for you, we will. We'll plug you into the stuff that you won't need to do. We see you as part of our team. So you're part of the extended Here for Bradford District and Craven Communities team, not something that's just sat outside of that. For some people, there may be a need for a cost against, you know, it might cost us something. So we've currently budgeted for up to £4,000 per year to help you deliver this. We've also got some organisations that see what this is meeting their own aims and objectives. So we've got a couple of organisations that have said, oh, well, I'm quite happy to do it for nothing because all the other stuff helps me meet my own organisational aims. So if we've got people that want to do this for nothing, we'll either have more outreach providers or we'll take the budget and split it up and give it to more people. We might be able to rinse a bit more money out. So at the moment it's £4,000, it might be a bit more. And if you haven't got a public use computer, then we will find a public use computer for you to be able to do this. Okay. So any questions? I'm going to stop the recording here.